2016, Canada passed Bill C-14, an act to amend the criminal code which enabled the Canadian citizens to access medical assistance in dying. Canada now joins a group of countries and US states which give the citizens such an option. It came about because of the Carter case, a Supreme Court decision that made the Parliament to create a law to help grievously ill and suffering Canadians end their lives with dignity. Tonight, we will examine the road to mercy.
Votre décision est claire.
Oui.
Oui. On va la receller. Vous êtes prête à y aller? Oui.
Oui.
OK.
Year after year, in poll after poll, Canadians have overwhelmingly indicated that they support death with dignity.
I'm at the stage where I spend most of my day in this chair being fed by tube and protecting what's left of my breathing.
It's almost a year now that I decided that I don't want to live anymore. I would like to have the euthanasia as fast as possible.
Anything that people write in their advanced care plans will not apply once they become demented.
But he could live forever as a vegetable.
Once you accept the idea that state-sanctioned killing of patients is morally acceptable, it becomes almost impossible to find a place to stop that process.
I deal with dying patients all the time. If I were to practice assisted death, that it would essentially become something I would think about and offer as a solution, and I think I can't do that.
I don't see death as always a fail. Sometimes death is better depending on what your view of a quality life is.
Elle a déjà arrêté de respirer. C'est fini.
Robert Latimer took the life of his severely disabled daughter years ago, resulting in a conviction for second-degree murder.
I was just doing something that had to be done. It was the right thing to do. You have to think of the child first, and that the law doesn't think that way. The law thinks of the law first.
Latimer hopes one day those laws in Canada will change to give people like Corvo the right to end a child's painful existence.
For Sue Rodriguez, the disappointing news arrived by fax, more than 100 pages of it, explaining why the Supreme Court of Canada said no to doctor-assisted suicide.
Changing societal norms concerning the issue. These are best demonstrated by the two court cases such as the Rodriguez versus British Columbia in 1993 and Carter versus Canada in 2015. During the first one in 1993, the societal norms valued the preservation of life under all circumstances over Sections 7 and 15 concerns at the time. However, during the case of Carter versus Canada, the prohibition against assisted dying is no longer justified under Section 1 of the Charter as a result of changing societal views and fundamental justice. The principles of social justice and health equity, together with addressing the social determinants of health, makes medical assistance in dying a public health concern. The prohibition of assistance in dying contradicts the principles of social justice, where individuals must have the right to make autonomous medical decisions with regards to their bodies. Another upstream force is the public health ethics that balance the rights of the individual with the good of the larger society. It involves the consideration of societal principles, beliefs, and values, such as enhancing human dignity, showing compassion to all, alleviating suffering, and empowering the person in parallel with the ethical principles. Bill 52, an act respecting end-of-life care in Quebec, also influenced Bill C-14, which allowed doctors in the said province to help competent terminally ill patients die if that is what the individual wants. Finally, euthanasia laws from other countries have an impact on several criteria and safeguards for those who wanted to apply for medical assistance in dying. There are several court cases and appeals of the public to plea for the right to have dignified and autonomous death. Supporters rally outside the Supreme Court of Canada on the first day of hearings into whether Canadians have the right to seek help to end their own lives on October the 15th, 2014 in Ottawa. Another argument mentioned about some religious opponents were against it because euthanasia was not morally acceptable. Several bishops in Alberta and Northwest Territories released guidelines on the day of euthanasia bill was passed. These guidelines were instructions for the priests to refuse funeral services for people who choose assisted dying because it contradicts the teaching of the Catholic Church. Not Dead Yet Coalition maintained a presence in the media by writing articles and through social media or YouTube's videos to clearly state why people with disabilities oppose assisted suicide. The Euthanasia Prevention Coalition also organized successful rallies on several occasions and before the bill was passed to ensure that members of the British Parliament understood that people with disabilities oppose assisted suicide. They believe that if the assisted dying bill passes, that some people's lives will be ended without their consent through mistakes and abuse. Medical assistance in dying is a controversial topic that is heart-wrenching to some people, but gives hope to others. Before the bill was passed, there were questions of personal freedoms and charter rights, questions of protecting the vulnerable, and responding to those enduring intolerable pain. There were many ethical, theological, and moral considerations, as well as economic implications. Many people who believe in good conscience, they cannot support assisted dying. People often equate conscience with values and beliefs, but conscience deals with reality, and the reality is that the Supreme Court has ruled unanimously that medical assistance in dying is now a charter right. My name is Emelinda Magsipok, reporting for the Frontline.